probably a lot to unpack from a result like that. Coach, where should we start?
That's a great. That's probably as good a. That's probably as good a question as any. Yeah, it's a hard one in a number of ways. So we had a really good workout yesterday, right? In so many ways, the things that we've been talking with the team about, the communication and early, and making switches and really moving around, rebounding the ball, being locked in to scouting report. We had guys calling plays out. Like guys, we had. I think you guys will believe me. I'm not sure everybody that reads your articles and sees the news tonight will believe me. I know you guys do. We had a really good workout yesterday, and that's so when I think about, and we didn't have a bad start to the game. We were moving around. We were guarding them good. We were pretty sharp. So all of that stuff in order, right? And it just got to be, and I don't know if it was that the physicality of the game shifted to their side, is what I'm getting to, right? And we all saw it. And if missing. I thought we had a couple good looks around the basket, and we had a couple good looks from the three-point line, right? And they didn't go. Now we're 10, 12 minutes into the game, and it's 15-13. But we just didn't have much offense going on. I don't know if that impacted the physicality and the pace and the aggressiveness of what we're doing defensively, but felt like, let's call it the 10-minute mark on down. And they were able to eye us up. Perry on the other sideline made a three. Anderson right in front of our bench made a three later in the clock. We were right on him, but didn't have a high hand to pressure it. And they drove the ball and got it to the front of the rim. And when they missed some shots, they had 3 or 4 offensive rebounds in that first half, and they got points out of those. So just whatever point in that first half, guys, the physicality shifted to their side. Right? And they played a good game, a good physical game, and they beat us bad.
The shift in physicality, is that something you can feel happening in the game, in the moment, or is that something you can only see in hindsight?
No, you can feel it and see it, as it's going, Ethan. And that, we talked about it on some of the drives. Talked about the offensive rebounds are ones where where are we getting on these? I think one of them for sure. Where we were in a help situation and the ball goes up and they've got a guy on a free run to the basket. But that it's happened in. It happened for sure in the Bradley game. And it may have happened in the Drake game. The rest of our teams we need to get more involved in our defensive rebounding. Okay? We need more. We need our guards more involved. And we talk about it. We talk about it a lot. Rebounding it's a 5-person job, right? And the defensive side of it, our numbers are really good, and this team has been good there, and typically we've been a very good defensive rebounding team. But we've slid there a little bit, right? And we've got to get all 5 guys involved. So, to your question, you could, and you could see it a little bit in those areas, and you could feel it a little bit, and then somehow you got to fight to get that back. And this team's done a pretty good job. And I know now it's 2 weeks ago. At Murray they got up 7, and we fought back, right? At Belmont they were kind of had some momentum second half. We fought back hard, right? So capable, very capable of fighting back in those situations. Today we weren't able to get that shifted. We weren't able to get ourselves into the physicality of the game today.
You subbed out the starters, all 5 of them, with I think 14:40 to play. Was that a coach's decision on circumstances of the game, or were you trying to send a message?
No, just circumstance of the game. We gave them that first 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes to see if we could cut it from 17. Hopefully you cut it down, like at Bradley. Hopefully you cut it down to 11 or 12 by the first media timeout, and then you kind of play your way down to 7 or 8 by the next media timeout. But we didn't cut it down, right? They extended it to, I don't know what it was, 25. They extended it 8 instead of us cutting it 8. So 25, and the way the game had gone for the last 15 minutes of game time, the last 10 minutes of first half, first 5 minutes second half, just circumstances of the game. Yep.
We've heard about how important practice is for this team. We've heard about how good the practices have been of late. What, if it's not the practices, could you point to that's caused this skid?
Yeah, we need more of those high-end practices, Ethan. Maybe we touched on it some. The 4 games in 9 days takes some of the practice days out of it, so you don't have as many, right? we had a really good one before we went over to Bradley. We just need more of them, is what I would tell you. And I've got to do a great job of making sure we've got competitive parts of practice so we continue to get those reps. We played our best after Christmas, right? When we had a long runway. Right? We had a lot of days before we played Missouri State, and we, as you guys know, and the guys talked about it, like we had hard practices and we had them day after day after day. You can't go as long right now, but we need hard competitive reps with what we're doing at practice. We need more of them. We haven't had enough of them in the last 10, 12 days, and that's my fault that we haven't had enough of them. Right?
Is Bowen over his thing, and did that affect anybody else?
Yeah, no, this is the healthiest we've been in 7-8 days. Since Bowen wasn't able to go to Drake, and then 3 or 4 guys kind of during the week this past week, Mark. Yeah, this is as healthy as we've been in 7-8 days. Yep.
When it comes to getting out physical, people are going to think about physicality, but what about the mental side of that? Teams that are really physical have always done well in this league. So, and I think about great players you've had in the past have been physical, Lucas O'Rear, Marvin Singleton. Is there something to say about talking to the team about the mental approach of being physical, and some of the guys you've had that have been top shelf at that?
Yeah, and that's been part of the conversation really all year, but since Christmas, in addition to the competitive drills and the physicality of practice and putting them in situations where they have to compete at their highest level. Right? We have talked about the mentality as much as we've talked about being physical or the physicality of the game, Cole. And that's you bring up a great point, and you're right on. Those two things have to go together, and that's where I'll point back to. We played our best 3 games at Murray, at Belmont, home against Southern. Right? So individual players, this group collectively, has shown that we can play at that level in terms of our mentality and in terms of our physicality. Okay? We have done both of those here within the last 3 weeks, and we did it against 3 good teams, 2 on the road, and we did it for a lot of the game at Drake. Right? To have a 10-point lead, cut to 2 or 3 and push it back to 6 and have an open 3 to go back up 9 at 59-50. We don't make it, and then they make one. But that's if ours goes in and we're up 59-50. There's not there's 8 minutes left maybe in that game. So we've done it. They've done it enough. Okay, it's there. Right? We've just got to do all the things that we can think of, and coaches, players, everybody included. We just got to give it a good run through here over the next day and a half, or the day off tomorrow. Take some inventory here and figure out how we get it at that high level consistently again.
By all accounts, the last game at Murray was kind of the one that started you guys on that good stretch of basketball. What is the message in the chatter amongst the team need to be to make sure that this game against Murray State isn't the opposite?
Oh, yeah, and I think you could tie in the game at Bradley, right? That didn't get off to a great start, and there's some, Hickman gets open a few times, and that's not part of what we wanted to see happen in the first 5 minutes of that game, and some offensive rebounds in the second half of that one. And I know we talked Evansville, we talked Drake, just the overall sharpness, right? And we talked through that. So even more so, I would say, than just this one today. And as much as it hurts to have that score, we're walking off the floor and you look up at that scoreboard, like that doesn't happen very often, and shouldn't happen on your home court. It just shouldn't. So that's a hard one to take from that standpoint. But I think more so than just today, Ethan. I think the last 4 times out, there's been stretches where we've played good basketball, right, and the physicality has been good, right. But there's been too many stretches where we haven't had it at the level that it's needed when you're playing these games in this league.